A very good noon to all of you. I welcome you to BYJU'S Exam Prep. I'm Nikita and we are going to talk about Parajumbles today. Right? Parajumbles for CAT, SNAP and all the other MBA exams. Right? So we are going to talk about type in the answer Parajumbles. We are going to talk about MCQ Parajumbles, Parajumbles with 4 sentences, Parajumbles with 5 sentences, with 4 options, with 5 options. All these permutations and combinations we are going to discuss. All right. So, hi, good noon, Varun. How are you? Yes. So, before I begin, you should know first of all what kind of parajumbles are asked in your exams, right? Then only we can devise a strategy to crack them. Same here, Varun. Hi, Ishan. Good noon. Okay. So if I look at the types of parajumbles, see, I can write down 100 types here, but I am writing that which is practically relevant for you. Of course, there can be 4 sentence parajumbles, 5 sentence parajumbles, parajumbles where the first and the last sentences are fixed and you have to arrange the middle ones, parajumble where just the first sentence is fixed, you have to arrange the rest of them, where just the last sentence is fixed, you have to arrange the above 4 or 5. So that way, there can be n number of parajumbles, but on the basis of the strategy as to how to approach them, how to solve them, you have to learn the distinction between MCQ parajumbles and type in the answer parajumbles because the approach differs slightly, right? So, multiple choice questions, you will have 4 or 5 options for these, and you should make use of these options, right? Type in the answer asked in CAT. It's a special feature of CAT. All the other exams give you MCQ parajumble. So if I talk about SNAP, if I talk about NMAT, IAFT, ZAT, okay, etc., etc., all of them give you MCQ parajumbles. Type in the answer are asked only in CAT. And lately, for the last few years, they have been giving 4 sentence type in the answer parajumbles. When type in the answer parajumbles began to be asked in CAT, back then they used to be 5 sentence parajumbles. Right? Now they are 4 sentence. So you have to arrange 4 sentences all by yourself and then you have to type in that sequence. Okay. So there is no negative marking for these in CAT. No negative marking. That's the good part, right? Good afternoon, Amrit. Hello, Gaurav. Hi, Thought World. Hello, Maitri. Good afternoon, Apurva. Right. So now that we know that there are these 2 types of parajumbles, let's talk about how to approach them. Okay. So, MCQ. The basic principles for approaching parajumbles, they remain the same, right? Some common mistakes that I've seen students making when it comes to MCQ parajumbles is they solve entirely through options. That is not a good strategy. Just because you've been given options, that does not mean that, okay, you'll first read A, then read your sentences in that order, then B, repeat the exercise. That is very time consuming and it makes you biased. Okay, it makes you biased because sometimes it happens that I read option B, then I read my paragraph in that order, and I felt, oh yes, this makes sense. So after reading the options, things start making sense even when they might not actually make sense. So do not solve entirely through options. Then what to do? You have to have a combination approach. A combination approach. So I am assuming, now here this is my assumption, that you have taken at least some tests where you have encountered parajumbles. These could be CAT mock tests, these could be your non-CAT exam mock tests, some topic tests, some sectional tests. I am assuming that you have taken some test where you've encountered parajumbles, right? So in that, you yourself must have felt this, you yourself must have seen this, that connecting words like but, however, as a result, these words help us a lot. These are conjunctions in a way, adverbial conjunctions. They tell us, they give us cause effect relationships, contradiction relationships. So one approach is that you make pairs. One approach is this combination approach has 2 elements. You make mandatory pairs. Make mandatory pairs. How do you make these mandatory pairs? By taking the help of connectors, reading the sentences and understanding the sentences, right? Not getting lost in them, but understanding what they're talking about. Okay, seeing if there are any language-based clues. For example, if I say this is not the result of this philosophy, rather that is. So rather connector and that is. This is that is a language-based clue, right? So make mandatory pairs using everything that you've learned in the basics of Parajumbles. Make use of connectors. Make use of understanding the theme. Look for language-based clues. Look for other grammar-based clues like noun-pronoun relationship. If I say he is responsible, who is this he? Maybe his name is mentioned in some of the other sentences. So noun-pronoun relationship, article relationship, all these help you to make mandatory pairs. However, because options are given to you, you are not required to make an entire sequence. So let's say the correct answer has this sequence B, A, C, D, E, and you identified AC as a pair. Now go through the options. Okay. So let's say this one has A, B, C, D, E. This one has A, C, B, D, E. So automatically, the moment you identify that AC is a mandatory pair, you are able to eliminate two. So that way, take the help of options, but don't solve completely through options. Okay, take the help of options. So let's implement this for a question. We will take the help of options, but we will rely primarily on making mandatory pairs. And I'm saying this, I understand that some of you must be thinking, why not find the opening sentence first? Okay, I am not saying that finding the opening sentence is bad. In fact, it's a very human tendency to first look for the beginning, the starting point. If you're able to find it easily, great, perfect. If not, don't be stubborn about it. Don't be hell bent on just finding the opening sentence. Sometimes it's not that clear, right? Okay. So good afternoon, Om. Those who've just joined us, good afternoon. Let's have a look at a question. Now that I know the basics of solving MCQ Parajumbles, we'll look at some other pointers also through this question. Okay. So this is an IIFT 2014 question, right? And very topical in nature, nothing philosophical here. These are your four options. Now, one thing, see, the moment I looked at the options, no, I realized either one is the opening sentence or three is the opening sentence. Either one or three. So here there is a clue for you right in the beginning. Now make a mandatory pair, solve and tell me the answer. Yes. For online proctored exams and math, can I reschedule it to the online center-based exam? That's what you are saying. I think rescheduling should be possible, Varun. So go to your login using your account, okay, through using your ID, okay, and there only rescheduling options are available. Okay, so yes, maybe you should be able to do it. I haven't ever registered for the proctored one, so I don't know for sure. But rescheduling options are available the moment you log in. Okay. Some very clear mandatory pairs in this question. Okay, C, D. Varun says C, S and D. Divya D, Priya D. All right. Okay. So I think in hindsight, we noticed that Miller made a wise decision. Yes, Facebook is a lot more than a business today, right? Now, C and D, that's what I've got primarily. So good that you were able to identify that 3 is the opening sentence and not 1. Okay. Now, the question is, should 4 come after 3 or should 2 come after 3? Right. Now, if you see, 3 and 2 make for a mandatory pair because of these clues. Grammar based clue. Big as that is. What is big? What is big? Let's see. I think the other words will tell me. It is considerably less than the $15 billion valuation. So what is considerably less than the $15 billion valuation? This $10 billion valuation, right? So big as that is, it is considerably less than the $15 billion valuation that Microsoft and Li Ka-shing accepted in October 2007. Okay, and in fact, one should come later on. One should come after two. Okay, something that's there in D as well. Okay, because we are saying that since the Microsoft deal. So first we'll talk about the Microsoft deal, and then we'll say no that financial markets have cratered since the Microsoft deal, right? So while there are doubts, see, we are now contradicting this using again a grammar based clue. But so doubts linger. But Miller's enthusiasm is such that not only did he buy stock from Facebook, we'll also be spending as much as $300 billion more buying, more. So one more thing is that 3 and 4, there is no contradiction. If you place 3 and 4 together by giving me D, there is no contradiction here. So there's no question of but. Okay, 3 and 4, they are in the same line, right? Okay, so I hope this is clear to you. Why? C is the answer. 3, then 2, because big as that is refers to this sum of money. Okay, then 1. Okay, after the deal, there are doubts. After the Microsoft deal, there are doubts. And lastly, but even though there are doubts, but Milner's enthusiasm is top notch, right? So 3, 2, 1, 4. We solved this using a combination of options. So the options helped me narrowing down my opening sentence, right? From 4 sentences to 2. Then next what I did was I took the help of grammar based clues. I took the help of language based clues also. See, Microsoft. So you could call it a theme based or a language based clue, whichever way you want to put it. Okay. And again a grammar based clue here. So I'm not going to rewrite this. Again a grammar based clue, but Milner's enthusiasm. Right. So this is what I told you even before we began. That's how you solve MCQ Parajumbles. These questions, and when there are options, they become much, much easier. And you should definitely give it a sincere shot in SNAP, IFT, NMAT. Okay, give them a sincere shot. Right? Okay. Now, coming to CAT 1997 question. Okay, so back then, CAT used to give options. CAT used to give options. Okay, so let's have a look. Let's have a look at this. Just 4 sentences. Very simple question. Let's see what you say. Okay, I've got an answer. I've got 1B. All right. Others, do we agree? Varun also says B. Mohit says B. Akhil says C. Okay. C also. C again. So options help me to the extent that, okay, either A is the opening sentence or D is the opening sentence. All right. Then between B and C, let's see which is the better choice. A says, after several routine elections, there comes a critical election, which redefines the basic pattern of political loyalties, redraws political geography, and opens a political space. Okay. Now, D says, on a strict definition, none of the recent Indian elections qualifies as a critical election. So don't you think first I will introduce this point of what I am calling a critical election. What is a critical election? The one that redefines the basic pattern of political loyalties, redraws political geography, and opens up political space. So A should definitely come before D. Therefore, C cannot be the answer. Absolutely right. B, Bangalore is the answer. A, B, D, C. Okay. What is psephology? Yes, psephology. We are talking about psephological jargon. So, what is psephology? The study of, yes, yes, yes. So these people who are psephologists, they study elections. They study the statistics related to elections, the patterns related to elections. Okay, and they can give some very useful advice as to what will appeal to voters. Right? They also predict. They are in the business of predicting that which party is likely to win. So psephologists are very useful in elections. Right? So in psephological jargon, the word specific to a field, they call it realignment. All right. On a strict definition, none of the recent Indian elections qualifies as a critical election. So because this is 1997, so we understand they are saying this. And lastly, it says rather since 1989, there have been a series of semi-critical elections. So DC also makes a pair, as I said, a pretty easy question. Just that now sometimes CAT asks questions of the same level. Okay, if you open your last 5-year papers also, no, and you look at the Parajumbles, a couple of them you'll find are of the same level. However, there are no options. That's the difference, right? Still, I would say that in CAT, do give your sequence, your type in the answer Parajumbles are short. You get 3 such questions. Now, if you are short of time, okay, then you can be selective in these. So you can rather prefer attempting those questions that are of a familiar language, where you feel, okay, the language is familiar, it looks easy. You can see a number of connectors, you can spot them, right? So you can be selective if you're short of time, but don't leave them completely. I never advise leaving any area in CAT completely. Okay, never useful, in my opinion, unless you're a champ, let's say in RC, and you can score 16 out of 16 correct there, right? Okay, now before I come to the next part is about typing the answer Parajumbles. And of course, we will return to MCQ Parajumbles also because there are a lot more exams that are asking MCQ Parajumbles. So let's talk about how to attempt type in the answer Parajumbles when you do not have any options. Okay, no options here. So here, relying on these clues becomes all the more important. Okay, so here, even if you don't understand each and every word, each and every sentence, it's fine because you have the help of options. But in a type in the answer Parajumble, you should be able to understand what is being talked about. Fine, it's okay if you don't understand each and every word, but broadly you should know what is being discussed, right? What is the theme? So it's very important to understand the sentences when it becomes a type in the answer question. So that should be step one. Read the sentences, understand them. As you read them, again spot the connectors, spot any grammar based clues that you see, spot any language based clues, right? For instance, this is not. Okay, so language based clues, right? Spot them. And now when you make pairs, of course, you'll be making pairs here also. Now, when you make pairs, keep this in mind. If it is a 4-sentence parajumble, let's say the sequence is 4, 2, 1, 3. Let's say this is the sequence. Then you should be able to identify 3 mandatory pairs. 4, 2, you should be convinced that 4 and 2 is a mandatory pair. 2, 1, you should be convinced 2, 1 is a mandatory pair. And 1, 3, that 1, 3 is a mandatory pair. So this should be the level of conviction that you should have when attempting a type in the answer parajumble, because it's entirely your sequence, right? There are no options here. And one thing that particularly helps, I hope I'm not writing, yes, so I need to write somewhere else. One thing that particularly helps here is revise. Okay, once you've made a sequence, just read your sentences in that order. Okay, if something is off, no, you will identify at this stage. right? So read them carefully, identify connectors, make a sequence, be convinced of the mandatory pairs, and then ultimately reread it in that order. It's okay if you don't understand one or two words here and there, but don't think this way that let me just look at just the initial few words and then make pairs and then make a sequence. That sort of a strategy does not work in CAT, at least, right? They are not so easy that just this will help. You have to understand the sentences. Okay, initially, when you start attempting these questions, one question might take you, let's say, 3 minutes also, right? Because it's the beginning, you just started doing this. But gradually, what do I have to do? Gradually, first I'll reduce it to 2 minutes, then 1.5 minutes, then somewhere between 1 to 1.5 minutes, right? Unfortunately, that is the amount of time that you get in the exam. Somewhere between 1.1 to 1.5 minutes. You have to reduce your time to this gradually. So practice under a time constraint. Right? I hope बहुत ज़्यादा ज्ञान नहीं हुआ, थोड़ा सा ज्ञान डिमांड करते हैं. Type in the answer parajumbles. These are your instructions. In the exam also, the instructions remain the same. Yes. Read them, read the sentences, understand, make mandatory pairs, revise, tell me the answers. Yes. All right. So Shubham says 1342. Amrit also says 1342. So I was just counting the number of responses. So I've got 41342. Okay. Something is wrong with my throat today. And 14132. All right. What else? Five responses in total. Priya again says 1342. Okay. So 1 and 3 is a pair. Agreed. Agreed. Right. Why not 4213? Why not 4213? That's my question. Yes. Why 1342? Hmm. Basically, my question is why is 4 not the opening sentence for you? Yes. Because if you see, none of the other sentences talk about America, isn't it? None of the other sentences talk about America. It's primarily focused on South Africa. So probably this is just there to give an analogy, right? So we are not talking about the Hurricane Katrina anywhere, right? So this is there just to give a comparison, just to give an analogy. As in the case of America's Hurricane Katrina, the carnage revealed much about the country in which it occurred. The carnage here refers to Katrina, right? Except that in South Africa, the disaster was entirely man-made. So I've changed track completely. From a hurricane, now I'll talk about political chaos. So 4 is the opening sentence because this talks about the Hurricane Katrina, which is something that is not the main point. It has just been used for the purpose of analogy that when something bad occurs in a country, it reveals a lot about that country. Right. So similarly, something has happened in South Africa perhaps, which has revealed something about South Africa. Now let's see the next sentence. Which should be the next sentence? Okay. Now, uh, if you see the disaster, we haven't defined it yet. What is the disaster? What is the disaster that has happened? What has happened now that we are discussing? The worst violence since the end of apartheid. The worst violence since the end of apartheid. So I was actually waiting for one of you to give me 4-1 as the mandatory pair. One of you gave it, right? Who was the student? Mohit. Mohit gave it. Okay. So 4-1 is a mandatory pair. Mohit, absolutely correct. Why? Because it tells me what exactly has happened. Why are we saying that there is a disaster that's entirely man-made? What has happened? Okay. Then 1-3 is a mandatory pair. I think this was the easiest bit to identify because its failure, whose failure? The African National Congress's failure to build a properly functioning state and to deliver economic growth created the potential for chaos. Okay, they created the potential for chaos, and the effects of the destruction that has happened will be felt. See, will be. We are going to the future tense. Will be felt for years in Africa's most industrialized country. Right now, this is a sort of a closing sentence. It's in fact a good closing sentence that okay, something bad has happened and its consequences will resonate, its consequences will reverberate for years to come. Right? 4, it introduces through an analogy. Introduction through an analogy. Okay, and then 1 and 3 is a mandatory pair. 1 tells me what has happened, 3 tells me why it has happened, 2 tells me what are going to be the consequences. So now I am convinced about my sequence, and when I revise it also, it doesn't sound jarring to me. So one of you, two of you have got this correct. 4-1-3-2, absolutely. Mohit, Amrit, absolutely correct. Okay. So the carnage is basically the Hurricane Katrina. I hope that is clear to you, right? So this is the answer for this one, and I gave you ample time for this because this was your first type in the answer question for today. Now let's come to the second one. This is again type in the answer. We will try to attempt it with a sense of urgency, right? With a sense of focus. But again, my priority is this that you identify 3 mandatory pairs here as well. Not a very difficult one. Let's see what you say. Yes. Very easy. Fastest fingers first. Okay. Amrit has answered. Others. 2-4-3-1. Others. I think Akhil also wants to say 2-4-3-1. Absolutely correct. 2-4-3-1. So it was pretty easy. Yes. Easy question. So you do get questions of this level also. Again, open your previous 3-year papers and you will understand what I'm trying to say. Okay. And here we had number of grammar and language based clues. That's why I felt we could stick to a time limit very easily here. Right. Uh, 2 and 4 is a pair. The easiest way to identify it, the double inverted quotes don't end here. The double inverted quotes end here. So that means this is a complete dialogue. 2, 4 makes for a complete dialogue. Right. And herein lies the essential contradiction. What is that contradiction? This. And Walt Whitman embraces this contradiction. Incongruity is nothing but a synonym for contradiction. So 2, 4, 3, 1. Absolutely correct. So in just some steps, CET results today, I'm not aware. So in just some steps, okay, in just a couple of steps. One was making 2, 4 a pair because it was a dialogue, okay. Then identifying that, okay, 3 steps essentially because I made 3 mandatory pairs. Then identifying that, okay, there is a contradiction that's there in this dialogue. And then saying that Walt Whitman embraces this contradiction. So in 3 easy steps, this question could have been done easily, right? So there are no magic formulae, right? When it comes to attempting parajumbles, the only thing is keep it simple. Just follow a couple of simple steps. In MCQs, follow a combination approach. In type in the answer parajumbles, follow the mandatory pair approach, but also understand the theme very well. Be aware of 3 mandatory pairs if there are 4 sentences, and lastly revise. Okay. There's nothing else to it apart from practicing more and more questions, because it is through practice only. When you practice constantly, consistently, that you reduce the time that you take to attempt these questions. So that is going to come through practice, right? I hope you're finding value in this session. If yes, then please press the like button. And let's again look at another question from another exam. This is from ZAT 2018, so relatively recent. And from ZAT, 5 sentences are given to you. The options on first glance tell me 3, 5, or 2. Any of them could be the opening sentence. I very easily spot but, however, right? And we also have be cautions. There is a we here, scientifically, okay. So yes, basically there are connectors, there are grammar-based clues that can help me attempt this and tell me what the answer should be. Yes. Easy. I've got 2 responses already. Great. Shubham, Mohit, Priya. What do the others say? Just 3 responses. Come on. What has happened? This is just a couple of type in the answer questions. I'm back to MCQs. Amrit, what do you say? Apurva, Divya. Okay. All right then. I am taking these responses A, B, D, which I've got, and okay, that means at least we agree that 3 is the opening sentence. Scientifically, the hyperspace theory goes by the names of Kaluza-Klein theory, okay, and supergravity. Okay, so here one pair that I identified very easily was 5, 2. So that's why D cannot be the answer. Why is 5 to a pair? Because it says that it has not yet been experimentally confirmed. It will be probably exceedingly difficult to prove. However, the theory is already swept across the major physics research labs of the world. So even though it has still not been experimentally confirmed, it has swept across the major physics research labs. So 5, 2 is a pair. Now it's just a matter of identifying 4, 1 and 1, 4. So um, 3 relates to 1, but its most advanced formulation. Whose most advanced formulation? That of hyperspace theory. Okay, so 3 and 1 is a clear pair. The answer is A and not B. Okay, so 3, 1, and then we elaborate on how these are 10 dimensions. Usual 3, okay, 1 is of time. Now there are 6 more spatial dimensions. So 4 elaborates 1, right? Perfect, perfect. 3, 1 is a pair, 5, 2 is a pair, 4 elaborates 1, so 1, 4 becomes a pair. And we are done with this question. So see, this was a ZAT question. Again, it's not like all the questions in ZAT are difficult. Okay, let's see this one. 5 sentences again. Okay, and my preliminary investigation tells me either E or B is the opening sentence. Yes. So what do you say? What's the answer? Let's see what you say. B, all right. Good afternoon, Prince. Others? This is age-old habit, okay? Age-old is an adjective here. Age-old habit. Again, it looks like, what does B have to do with the rest of the sentences? Yes? Humankind lingers unregenerately in Plato's cave, still reveling its age-old habit in mere images of truth. So humankind revels in mere images of truth rather than the actual truth. That's what this tries to say. Okay. But if I place D right after it, I've got B as the answer, yes? If I place D right after it, it says the inventory started in 1839. Inventory of what? Of what? The inventory started in 1839, and since then just about everything has been photographed, or so it seems. Also, don't you think that this talks about images? This also talked about images, that they could be related in some way. But being educated by photograph is not like being educated by older images drawn by hand. For one thing, there are a great many more images around claiming our attention. Okay, there are a great many more images that we currently have around us claiming our attention. Okay, so the inventory of these images started in 1839, and since then just about everything has been photographed, or so it seems. This very insatiability of photographing every single thing. So DA is a very strong pair. Okay, while when I attempted this question, I also felt that okay, should C come after B or not? I was also confused this way, but then I saw that EA is a pair. Okay, sorry, D and A is a pair. The moment I saw that DA is a pair, then these two automatically vanished. And I knew that B is the opening sentence because no other sentence talks about Plato as such, right? And it didn't even look like the closing sentence. So that's why this is the answer. B, C, D, A, E. C. Yes. Option C is the answer. Any query? Do you want me to explain this? Basically, B talks about how we are more concerned with images than with actual truth, right? Um, then it says, however, when we talk about photographs, there is one difference that when we look at a photograph, it's not the same as looking at older images drawn by hand. Those images are slightly different in nature. Why? Because there are, for one thing, there are so many of them around us claiming our attention. So the author first talks about images in general, then images produced by photograph, and then the rest of the paragraph is devoted to photographs itself. Right? D, the inventory, this collection. How are there are so many images today? Because this inventory started in 1839, and since then everything has been photographed. This very insatiability of the photographing eye changes the terms of confinement in the cave, our world. So, what is this cave? Our world. It has been defined right here in teaching us, because now what are the terms of confinement? How have they been changed? Changed. Yes, the word change is related to the word new here. Theme based clue. In teaching us a new visual code, photographs alter and enlarge our notions. So, alter, change, and enlarge our notions of what is worth looking at and what we have the right to observe. Right? So, I hope this makes sense. Om, Akhil, B, C, D, A, E. Right? Any query ask, otherwise I'll proceed. Okay then. Alright. Let's go to the next question then. This is, I think it's also an exam question. I'll tell you which exam. So very easy, 4 sentences. Now here see, we have no clue as to what the opening sentence is. But it seems like a person is narrating something. So tell me, what should be the sequence? Can be done easily. Let's see what you say. Fastest fingers first here. Amrit says D. Others, do we agree that it's D? Let me tell you from which exam this is. This is from IFT again. D or C? Okay. Hmm. Why? Why C? See, 4 and 2 is a pair, right? 4 and 2 is a pair. I have not played, I hope this is pronounced Schubert only. I have not played Schubert for more than a month. My violin misses him more than I do. Okay, him. Who is this him? This guy, right? So 4, 2. Eliminated, eliminated. Now, if I place 3 and 1, so see, no light, no sound comes in from the world. Why does no light, no sound come in from the world? Because we have entered a soundproof cell. So 2 needs to come before 1. 2 leads to 1. And that's why D is going to be the answer and not C. Okay? That's why I said that this could be done quickly, intuitively. 4, 2, 1, 3. And because there is no light, no sound, that's why your only impressions of sense are these electrons along copper, horsehair across acrylic. They are your only impressions of sense. because other senses are not working as much. There's no light, there's no sound, right? So 4, 2, 1, 3. This was an easy one. Okay, let's have a look at this one. It's about group decision making. Let's see what you say. So now we're just practicing. We are done with the concepts as such. Make use of clues. All right. Let's see. D, Delhi. Okay. Most of you say D. Is it? Is it? Everyone? Anybody who differs? Okay, B, I've got one B. All right. See, I was just trying to confuse you. D, Delhi is the answer. Okay, you were correct in the first place. And again, there are a number of grammar-based clues to actually lead me to D. For instance, when I said this balance, let me just come to my slideshow. Yeah, when I say this balance here, this delicate balance, what balance am I talking about? The balance that is there in nature. So nature itself is an intricate system of checks and balances. So it has to be B and D. BD is a pair. The moment you realize BD is a pair, this goes, this goes. Okay. In institutions also there is a need. So also when I say that means it's a continuing discussion that's coming after something. So when human interventions alter this delicate balance, the outcomes have been seen to be disastrous. In institutions also there is a need to have, so just like nature has checks and balances, similarly institutions also need to have checks and balances. That's what I'm saying. So it has to be BDCA. Okay. So just because I try to confuse you, please don't get confused, right? Any query that you have in what we've done today, anything that you wish to ask, please go ahead. Yes. Anything that you wish to ask? No? Okay, so there's an important announcement from 9th to 18th September. We are having an All India mock, right? And I suggest all of you to take this All India CAT mock. The link has been shared in your chat box. It will give you an idea of where you stand, what your strategy should be, right? All of those things. So do take it. And yes, this is it from my side for today. In case you don't have any queries, I hope you will implement the steps that I've told you for both MCQ and non-MCQ Parajumbles. Type in the answer Parajumbles. Right? Hope you enjoyed the session. I will see you next time. This is our comprehensive CAT batch. You can enroll for this. You can contact our counselors for further details. Right? And this is how we can stay connected via Telegram. And these are our social media handles. Okay, so I'll see you next time. Bye bye. Tomorrow I'll see you at 12. Bye. Thank you. Welcome, welcome. Bye.